I think today is a good day to build a PC. This PC took me 3 months to build. To be fair, when I first started, I was looking forward to 2 components that were not even released yet. This was a first for me, practically having to fight your way to acquire what little stock most retailers would have for both the Ryzen 5900X and the RTX 3080. Constantly checking so many different retailers, both online and offline, day after day, I've never faced this issue with my previous PC builds. And I wonder how much the 2020 pandemic actually contributed to this. Honestly, I'll much rather build a PC midway into a release cycle next time, rather than go through all of this hassle again. But for now, we're here, and this build is complete. Stock issues aside, I did run into a couple problems along the way that I had to resolve. The first issue was the case. I pointed this out in my review of the Akla A4 V2 ITX case previously. The magnetic top panel was a pain to remove. What I did was buy some white ribbon and stuck it to the panel to create this handle. For clearance behind the PSU mount, I added 9mm spacers. Initially, this was because I had intended to purchase a Founders Edition 3080. The cutouts in the motherboard frame would allow for the airflow the FE card requires. However, I didn't manage to get an FE card. With the EVGA XE3, airflow is less of an issue. The spacers were still incredibly useful though, allowing me to better manage the power supply cables, hiding the bulk of these cables within this 9mm gap, and leaving a decent amount of space for airflow under the PSU. Then came the actual build. This took me a couple of retries before I successfully posted. Initially, it was because I tried to orient the cooler vertically, and that wouldn't have worked as the heat pipes exceeded the length of the motherboard, and it likely would not have fit in the case. So I reoriented the cooler, and I hooked everything up to test boot before installing into the case, which was a really good thing because it would not boot at all. I figured it was because I needed to update the BIOS before the Gigabyte B550i would work with the 5900X. It took me a while to figure out how to do this, but I had to basically remove everything from the motherboard, stick in a USB drive with the latest BIOS, and wait for QFlash to do its thing. But now, after all of these retries, I ran out of the Noctua thermal paste that came with my L12S cooler and had to use some of my previously purchased CryoRig CP5 instead. After finally successfully booting, I assembled everything back into the case and promptly ran into my next problem. I was still using my older 1080 and this card was simply too tall. I could not install the top case fans with the card, as it caused both the riser cable and the GPU power cables to stick up too high, blocking the clearance needed for the top fans. Hence, I had to go with only a single bottom exhaust fan. Eventually, my 3080 arrived. I prepped everything I thought I needed to in advance. I ensured my BIOS was set to PCIe Gen 3 as I knew this might cause issues with the riser cable and the B550i, but it still wouldn't boot. I couldn't figure out why, so I dismantled the whole PC just so I could install the card straight into the motherboard, And it did work, but only sometimes. I really wondered if I got a lemon. I tested everything thoroughly, sometimes with the riser cable, sometimes without, sometimes angling the GPU into really weird angles, and swapping back and forth with my older 1080 as well. And at one point I also put the 3080 into my sister's PC just to make sure that it was a working card. It took me a full day to finally realize what the actual problem was. The PCIe cable had one loose pin, and sometimes the pin would lose contact when bent at certain angles. After pushing it tightly into place, all was well again. So yeah, this build is complete. I haven't done much tweaking on it, but currently I have the Ryzen set on Precision Boost Overdrive with the PPT set to 120. Temperatures and noise levels are decent, considering this is a lot of power in a rather tiny air-cooled ITX case. Aside from the CPU, I haven't customized anything else yet, so I'm sure these numbers can be further optimized. So that's it for now, and it's time for me to play some Cyberpunk. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.